You're listening to the Live Free podcast. I'm your host, Christine, certified life coach, pain to power mentor, and creator of Embody You Mindset Mastery School. I'm here today to discuss living life after disease, disaster, or adversity, to discuss living life fully once again, a life of hope, peace, and resiliency, a life fully embodied. I utilize the lessons that I learned going through not one, but two primary cancers. I'm here today to guide you to the life of your dreams, turn your pain into power, and lead you back to yourself. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Live Free podcast. Today I want to talk to you about unlocking your potential and what that means. So potential is this word that is so airy-fairy and means really nothing. So I like to use the word capabilities as a descriptor for potential. Because without a little bit of meat to that word, we cannot conceptualize what unlocking your potential is. When I say the word potential, you think to yourself, happiness, a state of ease, enjoyment. You can see yourself smiling because you've unlocked your potential. And so how do we do that? How do we gain that happiness, having that potential unlocked? It is by unlocking our capabilities, our own innate capabilities within ourselves. And we have them, my friends. We have the ability to easily and effortlessly set boundaries. We have the ability to speak our minds. We have the ability to be the most magnetic person in the room. We have the ability to choose when we want to go somewhere and choose when we want to stay in. We have the ability to say what we like and have that be okay. All of these things we have the ability, but we do not currently have the capability in order to have that be at the forefront, have that be easy, have that be habitual for us. So we start locking ourselves into all of these different places, saying that I'm just too weak, I'm just a doormat, I'm just the type of person that everyone takes advantage of, I'm too nice, all of these things. And we say them so that we can kind of get out of jail free. We stand behind terms like not enough or self-doubt or anxiety or all of these different things. We stand behind them because we have no idea how to get from here to there, to the other side, to the person that we'd like to be. So truly, all of these terms truly just mean that you have not developed the capabilities to have what you want yet. So consider that. You do not have the capabilities yet for what you want. How could that change your day? How could that change the way that you show up? When suddenly you feel like you're out of control and you feel like you're having a rough week, how could that change your mood by saying that rather than outside of you, so whether that be, universe, God, or whether that be your family, or whether that be your job or your boss that you hate or whatever else, instead of looking outside of you and saying, this is the reason that I'm having a rough week, or the all too famous one, good things just don't happen to me. I'm not the type of person whom, right? rather than looking outside of ourselves, what could it mean for you that you just don't have the capabilities yet in order to get through that day in a way that you don't have to feel triggered by that boss that you hate, or be in that job in general for that matter, or your family triggers you, but you just don't know how to get through to them that they're hurting your feelings. What could that mean for you if you just don't have the capabilities yet? That's big. If you can conceptualize this, it will change the trajectory of your life. So, how do we get the capabilities? the burning question. I've been talking for a while now and you're saying, okay, that's great, but how? Now, unfortunately, it is not a 20 minutes and it's fixed sort of situation, but I will start to break down for you all of the steps that I utilize with my students so that they can unlock their capabilities, so that they can unlock their potential and truly turn up the volume on their lives, the people that they are. So number one is that we have to get really, really clear on our limiting beliefs, our stories, our things that are holding us down. And so how do we do that? The best way to start to learn your stories is by looking around you in your life right now. If you don't have very much money, there's a story around money that's holding you back. If you don't have a very clean home, there is a story that is holding you back from cleaning your home. If you don't have the love that you want yet, there's a story that is holding you back from not having that love yet. Anything that you do not have yet but you do want, understand that there is a limiting belief or a story there. Otherwise, you would have felt confident enough to plunder on and venture forth into the unknown and create that for yourself by now. Instead, you projected outside yourself and you said, well, it's because he won't let me, or she won't let me, or God won't let me. And so then you gave up your power to something outside of you. So what are these stories and these limiting beliefs? They're often rooted in the subconscious mind or the unconscious mind, the part of the mind that we are not aware of, that is mostly filled with our upbringing, our childhood memories, our beliefs and values about the world. So we can access these. We can access these by getting clear. And so I invite you to journal, to sit down with a paper and a pen and ask yourself the question, what are the stories that I have? And then go through your life and write down one thing. Say, for example, it's that you don't have the love that you want yet. And then start to write down all of the potential stories that you're telling yourself for why you have not found that love yet. So they could be things like, I am not beautiful enough. I am not handsome enough. I am too needy. I am too emotional. So you see, these are stories, and they are keeping you stuck because you believe the story that you're telling yourself about yourself and the world around you. You believe it on such a depth that it runs in the background. It runs your life. It runs your life consciously also and subconsciously. And so you're in all this pain and you want so badly to no longer be in pain, but yet you're attached to the story. So you have to begin to break down that story. This is a huge, huge portion of my course, is all around breaking down stories and rewiring. do multiple different meditations and journaling, special different hacks and different ways that we can do things quicker, smoother. And I support you throughout it, because this is such a big, big subject. So once you begin, okay, so step 2, once you begin to understand your stories, and you get really, really clear on your stories, and you have an idea of what your stories are, then from there, we have to move into a place of personal responsibility and integrity. You have to be able to break down those habits from a place of, I understand that I am part of this, that I have given up in some ways, that I have stood behind my story because it was somehow familiar or easier. And then you begin to change those stories, right? So as you begin to break down all of those different stories and take responsibility for them and your particular flavor that you added to them, then you can begin to form new habits. And when you form new habits around the subject that you would like, the best way to do that is to replace it with something else. So using the example again of, I do not feel enough love and I'm not getting the love that I want. The story may be that I am undesirable, or I am too needy. And so you can start to move into a place where you are personally responsible to say, how has that neediness served me? How has that saying that I'm too needy and that's why I can't get love, how has that served me? And then begin to embody this alter ego, this other person that you want to be in regards to this love that you'd love to have. So hopefully I haven't lost you. So you want this love and you want to gain affection in your life. So you've said to yourself, the story I have is I'm too needy. And then you've said to yourself, telling myself that I'm too needy might be that I don't have to ever feel separation. That's the reward that I get for that story. Because I can consistently say I'm too needy, be too needy, and then that way I don't have to be alone. And then I don't have to feel sadness or lonesomeness. So then that's done, right? So you've taken responsibility for that. And now you've started to cultivate new habits. And in order to cultivate those new habits, you need to embody an alter ego. So the person who isn't needy, the person who deserves love, and the person who, instead of using this story in order to never be lonely, the person who understands that the best way to not be lonely is to be the confident, full, volumed, turned up version of herself. And when that happens, then and only then will you have an opportunity to no longer be alone. You can have that love that you want. So then when you start to embody that new person, you start to create this new alter ego, this new version of the you that's always been there, but you were too scared to let that person through. Then you can begin to shape and morph and become the person that you have always wanted to be, that will attract the love that you've always wanted to have. And this can be moved into any subject. So understand the story, understand the reward for the story, be responsible and integral about who it is that created that story and how you'd like to move into a new habitual way of being, and then start to act as if, start to be the person, change that portion of your identity, be the person that you've always wanted to be. And as you become that person, and as that becomes a habit, slowly but surely, then you will begin to create the reward that you always wanted, which could be anything. It could be that you don't have to be lonely, right? So that's a little bit of a rundown of how you can break down the different limiting beliefs within yourself. And that when that happens, when you start to become the person that you wanted to be, you begin to find ways to embody the capabilities that you've always wanted to have. You begin to find ways to show up in the way that you've always wanted to show up. Because you have created and made space for the person who you want to be. So do you see, it's not in the education and the learning about all of the different limiting beliefs and sadnesses that you are, it's in the action of beginning to be the person that you want to be. Beginning to play with this open field that you have no idea how to build the building that you're wanting to build, but just start. And when you start, then you start to figure things out slowly but surely, one day at a time. And that is when you can begin to ingrain these new capabilities into your life. And what's interesting, really interesting, is that as you unlock this part of yourself that you didn't know was there, that lie dormant behind fear and stories and limiting beliefs, is that what happens is that you begin to lose the need for the unlocking. Suddenly, people treat you better. They treat you kinder. Suddenly, things go smoother for you, more easily. Suddenly, the things that you've always wanted become just right in reach as opposed to out of reach. It's quite extraordinary to witness. All these things that we wanted and wanted and wanted, but were never able to have, become so easy, become natural, and in fact, come knocking at our door quicker than we even understand them. It's an amazing thing to behold. For myself, watching my students move through that process is extraordinary. To see them come out the other side and say, I didn't even know that I wanted this. And then suddenly it became easy and it came to me and all of a sudden my life improved in this way. And I didn't even know that I wanted it. And so when I say unlock your potential, I mean unlock your capabilities that are inside you, that are just dormant, that are hiding behind fear and stories. And when you get to the other side of that, then all of a sudden, all of the things that you knew or didn't know that you wanted, they become easy. They become second nature. And suddenly, your potential is unlocked. So, of course, this process takes 10 weeks in my course. It is not a quick process, and there is a lot of support along the way. So I'll leave you with all of that I've taught you here today. but to start with the journaling. I'd love you to start with the experience and the understanding of what some of these limiting beliefs are for you, what some of these things are that are holding you back. When you put pen to paper, you will be absolutely floored by what comes out the other end of that pen, because we're too much in our way. It's so difficult and damn near impossible for us to reason out what's correct because we are too in our way. And so when you add pen to paper, you move a piece of that objection out of the way. So try it. Give it a go. Get a little bit clearer on your stories. You'll be surprised what happens on the other end of that. And of course, if you want to dive deeper, know that I open up my course 3 times a year now. I used to do 4. I decided on 3 because we're all busy in summer. I open them 3 times a year, as well as I have private courses that can happen anytime. So all my love to you. Have a beautiful day. And I hope that this has been helpful as you go through your day to understand that it is not whether or not you are destined for greatness. It is only the fact that you do not currently have the skills to have the greatness that you want, and that is possible for you. Thank you so much for listening. If you found expansion with this last episode, then that means that others will too. And the best way to get the word out about the podcast is by leaving a review. I would be so grateful if you could leave me a review and let me know how you felt about the podcast. Included in the show notes will be everything that we talked about today, including all of my transformative programs. Change is just on the horizon, my